Hey everybody, this is a reteaching video of the Chapter 2 material. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over the Chapter 2 test that you took. So you might want to have that in front of you. And I'll be going over each problem as a way of reteaching the skill that I taught in class. And you can see what you did right, what you did wrong, and if you would like to retake the test, then we can set up a time for that, and we'll disregard the first test, and we'll go with what you do on the second test, or take the better of the two tests, okay? But I really want you to, the main thing isn't so much about getting a certain grade, it's about knowing the material. And I want you to be able to do these skills so that as we move forward, you'll have this as a foundation. Okay? So go ahead and watch this. You can pause it at different times. But definitely let me know if you have any questions. And hopefully this will help you to understand these skills even better. And if you'd like to retake it, let me know. All right, let's jump right into it. The first question is a multiplication of fractions. So you have a fraction, you have 6/7 times 3/4. Now with this, you don't have to change, don't have to do anything, you just go right across. And so 6 times 3 is 18, 7 times 4 is 28. Now you have to make sure that you simplify. So you know that they're both even, so if they're both even, I can divide each by 2. And that becomes 9 over 14. Now, I don't think there's any number that will go into both 9 and 14 evenly. I could try 9, but that doesn't. 3, that doesn't. So when I feel like I have it to my simplest, I circle it. And that's my answer. All right, let's go over to this next one. And this is a fraction 1/4 multiplied by a mixed number. So remember how I would put the little dot there and plus there? So 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. And then you keep the same denominator. Now, I just have a fraction multiplied by a fraction. 1 times 23 is 23, and 4 times 3 is 12. Now, the top number is bigger, so it means it is improper. So that's where I can go 23 divided by 12. Okay. How many times does 12 go into 2? It doesn't, so I put a little x there. So the first number I'm starting with is this 23. How many times does 12 go in 23? 1 time. Almost 2, but not quite. So I put the 12 down here. I subtract here. 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. It's 11. So I know that 12 couldn't go into 11 anymore. So we picked the right number. There's nothing more over here to come down, so I'm left with a remainder, and it's 1, remainder 11 out of the 12. So the answer is 1 and 11/12. Then I can ask myself, can I simplify 11/12? Which I can't, so I circle that, and that's my answer. More, oops. All right, number 3. This is a mixed number multiplied by a mixed number. So we got to get both of those into fraction form. So 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19, keeping the denominator the same. And 2 times 9 is 18, plus 1 is 19, keeping the denominator the same. And then all we gotta do is go across. 19 times 19 is 361. And you can use your calculator to do that if you want. 6 times 2 is 12. Very much an improper fraction. So I don't think 361, this is odd, and 12 is even. So I can't divide by 2. I could try maybe 3 or 4, but I know that they don't go in there. So let's just, let's divide this. So I take my 361 divided by 12. Now, does 12 go into 3? Nope. What about 12 going to 36? 12 does go into 36 3 times. So I put the 3 there. 3 times 12 is 36. Wonderful. Now, I have to pull my 1 down, and I ask myself, how many times does 12 go into 1? Well, you can't get any 12s out of 1, so it's 0 times. 0 times 12 is 0. I subtract that out, leaves me with 1. Nothing more to bring down. I have a remainder. So I have 30 and a remainder of 1 over my denominator of 12. And I know 1/12 can't get any simpler, so I circle that, and I have my answer. All right, let's go to number 4 here. Okay, now we're switching from multiplication to division of fractions. So, before I do that, I know that I have a fraction and a fraction. So that's a fraction, that's a fraction. So I can't divide them. I have to do something before I can. I have to do the keep, change, flip. Or keep, flip, change, something like, whatever you like. It just has to keep the first one has to stay exactly the same. You have to change the multiplication, or the division, change the division into multiplication, and you have to flip these, or do the reciprocal of it. And since you have 2/5 here, I'm going to flip it. The reciprocal would be 5/2. Now I just have a fraction that I can multiply. 1 times 5, 5. 3 times 2 is 6. Now it's a proper fraction because the smaller number's on top. Nothing can go into both of those, so 5/6 is my answer. Number 5 is another division one. So I have a fraction here, but I don't have a fraction here. I'm going to change the 5 into a fraction, and the way I do that is I just put a 1 under it. Okay? So now I have 3/8 divided by 5/1. Now I have 2 fractions, so then I do my keep, change, flip. Keep this, 3/8. I change that, and I flip that to be there. Then I multiply across. 3 times 1 is 3. 8 times 5 is 40. Now the only number that could go into 3 would be 3. So does 3 go into 40? No. So give it in your simplest form. Alright, here is a mixed divided by a mixed. First of all, we have to get these into fraction form. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4 over 3, divided by 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8, 8 over 7. Okay, now I got them both in fractions, so now I can keep, change, flip. So I got to get this to be a multiplication. So I keep that the same, I change that, and I flip that. And I multiply across. 4 times 7 is 28. 3 times 8 is 24. I'm going to simplify this. I see that they're both even. 7/2. That would be 14. That would be 12. Oh, they're still both even. them in half again. So that would be 7 and 6. Okay, so now they're both not even, but it isn't proper. The numerator is a little bigger. So I got to take 7 divided by 6. How many times does 6 go into 7? One time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract that out. I get 1. That's my remainder. So I have 1, which is this number here. And then my remainder, 1. And my denominator is 6. 1 and 1/6. Number 7 is adding and subtracting decimals. And the key to adding and subtracting decimals is to line up your decimal. So order of operation tells me I can do the plus and minus. I just have to start first come, first serve. So I am going to do this first. So 23.361. And I'm real careful to line up my decimal. So I put my decimal first. And this has 8 and then 213. 213. And I'm also careful about the operation. This one's plus. I drop my decimal down first. Now I just do the adding. 3 plus 1 is 4. 1 plus 6 is 7. 3 plus 2 is 5. I got my decimal. It's a little high, but that's okay. 8 plus 3 is 11. I carry my 1. And 2 plus 1 is 3. So when I add those two together, I get 31.574. And then I bring down this, which is 15.986. So now I come over here and I do 31.574. And I'm subtracting it, always being careful to make sure I get the right operation, by line up my decimals. It's going to be 15, and then 9, 8, 6. Okay. So then I do my subtraction. 4 minus 6. I can't do that. So I go over here. The 7 becomes 6. And then I add the 10 to this 4. So that's 14 now. 14 minus 6 is 8. Okay, go to the next one. 6 minus 8. Nope, I can't do that. So I come over here. The 5 becomes a 4. And the 6, I add 10 to it. It becomes 16. 16 minus 8. 8. Next one. 4 minus 9. I can't do that, so I have to go to the next one over. This 1 becomes 0, and I add 10 to the 4 is 14. 14 minus 9, 5. Then I gotta remember to drop down my decimal. And then I go to the next one. 0 minus 5, I can't do, so I come over here. 2. That becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. And then 2 minus 1, that I can do, is 1. And so for an answer, I get 15.588. Alright, let's go over here. Here we have an order of operations. So we know that we have to do inside the parentheses first. So I come over here, 6.32. I see it's subtraction, and I see that there's decimals. So I want to line up my decimals. 4, 8, and on this other side is 2. And I know that it's subtraction, so I do that. Okay. 2 minus 8, can't do. That becomes a 2, and that becomes 12. 12 minus 8, that's 4. Come over here. 2 minus 4, can't do. So that becomes a 5, and that becomes a 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. My decimals drop down. And 5 minus 2 is 3. So this right here is 384. And then I bring down my other stuff. Now I'm multiplying decimals. So when you multiply and divide decimals, you don't have to worry about lining up the decimal. It's only with adding and subtracting. So now, because I'm multiplying, I just put 3.84 times 1.2. The main thing you want to do is you want to have each of the 4 and the 2 to be in the same, line those up, and then just put the rest of the number down. Decimals not lined up. That's fine. Okay, now the first thing I do when multiplying decimals is I take out the decimal. 1, 2. If I take it out 2 times, there's no decimal there anymore. Take this one out 1 time. Okay, and I add those 2 together. 3. So I took it out 3 times. I just need to remember that at the end, I'm going to come down here, and I have to go in 3 times. But now that I've done that, let's just go to the multiplication. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Okay, I'm done with that 2. Now I come over to this 1. And I'm going to change colors so you can see something. Let's make it green. So now I need to get this 1 multiplied by the 4, the 8, and the 3. But because I'm in this column here, I need to put a 0 here so that I can start in this column here. Okay. So let's do 1 times 4. That's 4. 1 times 8 is 8. And 1 times 3 is 3. Now, I'm done with that 1. So it means I've done all of these numbers down here. And then I just have to add these up. 8 plus 0 is 8. 6 plus 4 is 10. So I put my 0 here, carry my 1. 8 plus 7 is 15, plus this little 1 is 16. Put my 6 down there, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. So 4, 6, 0, 8. But decimal would be right there right now. Remember, I'm not done yet. It came out 3, it goes in 3. What comes out must come in. 1, 2, 3. So my answer to this one is going to be 4.608. And I circle it, and I'm done. I come over. All right, question 9 and 10. These are both long division. So I set it up here. 1,224 divided by 12. So I take my 12 here, and I ask, how many times does 12 go into 1? It doesn't. So I'm just going to put a little dot. Oh, no, I'm not going to put a dot there. That looks like a decimal. I'm going to put a little X there because I don't want to put a 0 there, but I could put a 0 there. Yeah, let's do that. Maybe that confuses you to put the X. So I'm going to put a 0 there because it goes in there no times. So now I'm going to the next one, which is 12. How many times does 12 go into 12? 1 time. 1 times 12 is 12. I subtract that out. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, so now I bring down my 2. And I have to ask the question, how many times does 12 go into 2? Well, it doesn't. So then I put a 0 here. 0 times 12 is 0. Subtract that out. That gets me a 2. 0, 0. Then I got to bring down my 4. So now I have the number 24. How many times does 12 go into 24? Well, I know it's 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24. Subtract that out. This gets me 0 down here, and there's nothing left here to bring down. So I'm done with no remainder. So my answer is 102. Okay. You really can't forget to put that zero there. Then the way you could test it to make sure you're good, you could go 102 times 12 and see if that gets you 1,224. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 1 is 2. Add my 0, 1 times 2 is 2, 0, 1. Add those up, it gets me 4, 2, 2, 1, which is exactly what I started with. So, yeah, 102 is the correct answer. All right, let's go over number 10. Same type of thing. So I asked myself, 200 going to 2? Nope, 0 times. 200 going to 27? 0 times. How about 200 into 270? Yep, 1 time. I'm putting these zeros here so that I know when I put my first number down, it goes in the right area. It goes right here. So 1 times 200 is 200. And I subtract those, 0, 7, 0. Okay. Now I have this 8 here, so I got to bring it down, 8. I have 708. Ask myself, how many times does 200 go into there? So I think it's 3. 3 times 200, well, 200, 400, 600. So there's 600. And then I subtract that, 8, 0, 1. Now there's nothing left here to bring down, and I have a remainder. So on the line is my whole number, 13, and then my remainder of 108 over the denominator of 200. But I can see that these two numbers are even. So let's divide them in half. And 108 would be 54, and 200 would be 100 in half. Okay, now I need to divide them in half again because they're still both even. 54 divided by half is 27, and 100 would be 50. Now 27, I know numbers like 9 and 3 go in there, but they don't go into 50. So I have my whole number of 13 and my simplified remainder, 27 over 50. Here is my answer. All right, we're half done. Here's the last 10 problems. So number 11, it's also long division, but it has a decimal. Now, I look over here first. If this is a whole number, then I'm good. And 40 is a whole number. Then I look in here, and if this has a decimal, with this being a whole number, all I do is I take the decimal and I move it up top. Okay? And then I'm done with my decimal. Now it's just like 1544 divided by 40. And so let's do that. How many times does 40 go into 1? Well, it doesn't at all. How about 40 into 15? No. How about 40 into 154? It does. So I come over here, I do 40. If I do times 2, that gets me 80. I think I can do more. Let's do times 3. 40 times 3 is 120. 154. Should we try one more? 40 times 4. That's 160. Oh, that's too many. So this is the one I want. Okay. Okay. 3. So 3 times 40 is 180. 20. Line those up and I carefully subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay. Now I bring down my 4. Now I have 344. Now I'm going to go more than 4 because 4 is 160 and I need to get all the way to 340. I'm going to do let's do 7. 40 times 7, that's 280. Let's try 8. 40 times 8, 320. Oh, 320. I think another one would take me to 360, so I better go with this one here. 8. 8 times 40 is 320. Subtract that out, I get 4, 2. All right, now, because I'm working with a decimal here, and I have some remainder here, I can just throw a 0 right here and not change anything. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put my 0, and I'll bring that down. So now I have, how many times does 40 go into 240? Ooh, 7 was 280, so let's try 6. 40 times 6. And I'm trying to get it exactly. 240. Oh, there it is. That's exactly it. So if I do a 6 here, 6 times 40 is 240. Subtract that out. That's 0. I don't need to put another 0 because I have a 0 here. And so my answer is 0.0386. And I circled that. Okay. So that's how you do it if you have a decimal divided by a whole number. Let's go over here. This is a little different because we have a decimal divided by a decimal. So I need to get this number to be whole. So I take this 1, 2 over. Now I have 29 instead of 0.29. Now it's a whole number. But if I take this over 2, it has to be connected with this decimal, and it has to go over 2. 1, 2. Okay, now I have a whole number, and I have this decimal here, and then the decimal just goes right up and sits on the line there. So you got to go over 2, and then up. Okay. So now I'll do the rest in blue. I have 29. Does 29 go into 9? Nope. 29 into 92. I'm going to guess 3 times. 29 times 3. That's 27. 6, that's 87. Yeah, that's pretty close. Without going over, pretty close. So let's do 3 here. 3 times 9 is 87. Subtract this out. That becomes an 8, and that's a 12 now. 12 minus 7, that is 5. And if I bring down my 8, I have 58. And if I do 29 2 times, that would be 18. Oh, 58. Look at that. So I put my 2 down here. 2 times 29 is 58. Subtract out 0. Nothing, no other numbers here. This is 0. My answer is 3.2. Okay. Okay, now a lot of people had trouble with this one. This is a kind of a weird one because you have a whole number divided by a decimal. So we know we need to make this number here to be a whole number. And the way I do it is I get rid of the decimal. 1, 2. Okay. Now if I take that decimal over 2 times, I have to do here too. And 18, a whole number, always has a decimal at the very end. It's kind of like saying 18 is the same as 0.80. 0.80. Okay, so we know the decimal is going to go right at the back there because 18, 18, 18. These are all the same number. The decimal's there. So I put my decimal here. Now, because I went over 1, 2 here, I got to go 1, 2 here, and then I go up. But I can't have empty spaces here. So I put zeros. Okay. Now, it's 1800 divided by 44. All right, so 144, does that go into 1? No, 0 times there. 144 go into 18? No, 0 there. How about 144 go into 180? Yeah, 1 time. So 144, and I subtract that out. 0 minus 4 I can't do, so I come over here, 7. That becomes 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 7 minus 4 is 3. Now, I have this 0 here that I have to use, so I bring down my 0. 144 into 360. I'm going to try 2 times. So let's do 144 times 2. That's 8, 8, 2. I don't think I can get one more, so let's just do 2 here. 2 times 144 is 288. Subtract this out. I can't do 0 minus 8, so that becomes a 5, that becomes a 10. There's 2, and I can't do 5 minus 8, so that becomes a 2, and that becomes a 15. So I'm left with 72. Now, I have a decimal here, so I don't really want a fraction with this remainder, so I can just put a 0 here and keep on going. And now I have 720. How many times does 144 go into 720? Let's just try 5. 144 times 5. I picked 5 because 4 times 5 I know is 20, and it ends in a 0, so that's 20. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 2 is 22. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. Ooh, 720. Got me the exact thing. So I put my 5 here. 720. Subtract that out. And that gets me 0. So the answer is 12.5. All right. Let's do this one here. So this is back to multiplying fractions. And we have a whole number. Well, we have a mixed number times a whole number. So I think we can do this. First, we want to get this into a fraction. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16 over 3 times. And how do we make a whole number into a fraction? Well, we just put a 1 under it. Multiply across. And when we do that, we get 480. 16 times 30 is 480 times 3. 3 times 1 is 3. So now we have major improper. But I know 3 can go into 3. I wonder if 3 can go into 480. So I'm going to do that. 480 divided by 3. That's 1. Bring down my 3. 1. Bring down my 8. That's 6. That's 18. 0. Got to bring down my 0. How many times does 3 go into 0? 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0. That's nothing. Nothing left. So it does go in there evenly. So if I do divided by 3 and divided by 3, that's going to get me 160 over 1. Now we know that any number over 1 is the whole number. Because I could divide this, since it's improper, I could go 160 divided by 1. How many times does 1 go into 1? 1 time. How many times does 1 go into 6? 6 times. Oh, I got to bring down my 6. Sorry. Then 6. Subtract that out. That's 0. Then I bring down my 0. How many times does 1 go into 0? 0 times 0. My answer is 160. Okay. All right, we're getting there, guys. Number 15. It's a division. And I have a whole number divided by a fraction. I want everything to be fractions. So how do I make 7 into a fraction? Put a 1 under it. Okay? Divided by 2/5, that is already a fraction. Now I have a fraction divided by a fraction, which I can't do, and I have to do my keep, change, flip. So I keep 7 over 1, I change the division to be multiplication, and I flip 2/5 to be 5 over 2. And then I multiply across. 7 times 5 is 35. 1 times 2 is 2. Now 2 goes into 2, but 2 can't go into 35. So I can't simplify it, but I can turn it into a mixed number because this is improper. So I go 35 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. Subtract that out. Then I bring down my 5. How many times does 2 go into 15? Well, 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Subtract that out, leaves me with 1. Now, because I have fractions, I can end with a fraction. So my remainder is 1. So the 1 goes here and 2 there. 17 and 1/2. Can I simplify the 1/2? Nope. So that's as simple as it gets. Let's go over to number 16. This is a multiplication of a mixed number by a fraction by a fraction. So I first have to get this into a fraction. So 14 times 4 is 56 plus 1, 57 over 4 times 1, 3 times 1 over 2. Now, because this is all multiplication, I'm just going to go straight across. 57 times 1 is 57, times 1 more is 57. Okay? 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Okay, 24. Now, I wonder if 3 can go into 57. Because I know 3 can go into 24. I'm going to try it. 57 divided by 3. Goes in there 1. Subtract that out, leaves me with 2. I bring down my 7. 3 goes into 27. Oh, 9 times exactly. 27. 0, no remainder, even 19. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide each of these by 3. And this is going to get me 19, and that's going to give me 8. Now, I don't think anything can go into 19 and 8, but it is improper. So I have to go 19 divided by 8. Goes into 1 0 times, but it goes into 19 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract that, I get 3. Nothing more to bring down. So now I'm going to have a remainder of 3 over the 8. So it is 2 and 3/8. Now some people just went 57 divided by 24, which could work because it doesn't go into 5 at all, but it goes into 57 twice. That's 48. And if I subtract that, it becomes a 4, 9. 2 and 9/24. So if you got 2 and 9/24, you were so close. But I know that 3 goes into 9 and 3 goes into 24. So when I divide each of those by 3, it gets me to 2 and 3/8. All right, this is a super fun one. It involves PEMDAS. It involves multiplying fractions. There's a whole number. And then there's also addition to a fraction, which we didn't spend a lot of time on. This was tricky for a lot of people. But first of all, PEMDAS, parentheses. So I know I got to do this first. So I do 6/7 divided by 1/2. Those are both fractions, but I can't do division. I have to do keep, change, flip. So if I keep the first one, I change the sign from division to multiplication, and I flip that. That gets me 12/7. I'm going to keep that just like that, because what I have now is I have 4 plus 1/9 times 12/7. And this tells me order of operations. I don't have any exponents, but I have to do my multiplication division first. So I have to do this. So 1/9 times 12/7. And when I do that, I get 1 times 12 is 12. 9 times 7 is 63. Okay. Now, 63 and 12, I know that 3 can go into both of those. And that gets me 4/21. So now I have that in its simplest form. So that is 4/21. Oops. 4/21. And I bring down my 4 plus. So I have one last thing to do, and it's this right here. 4 plus 4/21. Now when adding fractions, we have to make them each a fraction, so we put a 1 under it, but they have to have the same denominator. Now I know I can get this to be a 21. So if I want 21 as my denominator for both, I know that 21 times 1 is 21, so 4 times 1 is 4. How do I get from 1 to 21? Well, I times it by 21, and then I times 4 by 21, and that gets me 84. 84/21. Now, let's add them up. 84 plus 4 is 88 over, and when you're adding fractions, you just keep the denominator the same. Now, I have a mixed number, so now I have to make it into I have an improper fraction, so I need it into a mixed number. So I take 88 divided by 21. And it doesn't go into 8 at all, but it does go into 88. And it goes in there 4 times. 4 times 21 is 84. I subtract that out, it leaves me with, let's see, let's go like this. Move this up a little bit. There we go. Leaves me with 4 right here. Nothing more to bring down, so I have a remainder. So my remainder is going to be this 4 here over 21. So this here in a mixed form is 4 and 4/21. Then I ask myself, can anything go into 4 and 21? Nope, I know they can't. All right. This problem was, it's the perimeter. And the way you get the perimeter of a thing is you just add up each of the sides. So the skill I was working on here is just to make sure you know how to add decimals. And to remind you that with decimals, you line up the decimals. So you could have added the 4.2 and 4.2 and added the 6.89 and 6.89 and put those together. I'm going to do it all together, though. I'm going to do 6.89, line up my decimal, 6.89, and then I have 4.2, 4.2, and 4.2. And I lined up my decimals on all 4 of them. Now, there's nothing here, so I can add a 0. 9. Oh, then I'm going to drop my decimal. There we go. 9 plus 9 is 18. Put the 1 here, 8 here. 8 plus 8 is 16. Plus 2 is 18. Plus 2 more is 20. That's 20 plus my 1 is 21. Then I have 2 plus 6 is 8. Plus 6 is 14. Plus 4 is 18. Plus 4 is 22. And it's meters. So my answer is 22.18 meters. All right, these are our last two. This is a pattern one. So I have 1, then I have 1.3, then 1.6, 1.9. I need to get the next 3. And I see that each time it goes up a little bit. So it's going to be plus something. So now I have to figure out what it's going up by. So I'm going to take this 1.3 minus 1. I can put it like that. And that gives me 3. Right there. 1 minus 1 is 0. So it's 0.3. It goes up 0.3. I'm adding 0.3 each time. So now, let me just see. If I do 1.3 plus 0.3, that's 6 decimal 1.6. Yep. Okay, so now I take 1.9 plus 0.3, drop my decimal. 9 plus 3 is 12. Put the 2 there. 1 plus 1 is 2. So it's 2.2. I do 2.2 plus 0.3, lining up my decimals. 2 plus 3 is 5. Bring down my 2. 2.5. And then I got to do 2.5 plus 0.3. And when I add those up, I drop my decimal. 5 plus 3 is 8. Bring down my 2. It is 2.8. Okay, so what is happening? It's going up by 0.3 each time. All right, last one. Order of operations. I know I have to do this first. So I do 0.8 plus, line up my decimals, 3.95. Then I drop my decimal. I can put a 0 here and a 0 here. 0 plus 5 is 5. 8 plus 9 is 17. 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so this right here is 4.75. Now, I have 6.95 minus 4.75. So I have to, with minus, I start with this one on top. And then I have to subtract the 4.75, making sure I line up my decimals. 5 minus 5 is 0. 9 minus 7 is 2. Drop my decimal. And 6 minus 4 is 2. So the answer is 2.20 or 2.2. Either one is acceptable. Okay? So there are the 20 questions that we work through, the skills that I find to be very important and foundational. So hopefully by going through this, you understand what you did right, maybe understand a little bit more what you did wrong. And after a little bit of practice, if you want to retake, let me know.